Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to another edition of the Bryan Turner Basketball Podcast. And so, I got a good one for us today. Hey, this might break the internet. At least in my niche. As far as man, I've just been hearing a lot of talk just this past year about some of the greats. Some of the greatest teams of all time in the St. Louis area. And that notion again has been thrown out there when it comes to some of these teams that just recently just played. And so I want to make sure that this video gets a lot of reach because I'm going to be talking about some St. Louis uh, topics today. And so for all my friends all over the world, all over the globe, all over the country, this is going to be for my St. Louis folks right here. All right. But this is for you too. But I just want to make sure that this is for that this is getting to the right folks when it comes to we're talking about St. Louis business. And so for the most part, before AAU, before rankings, before social media, we've had the PHL. All right. We've had legends, real legends, not legends that that are manufactured, let's just say by certain platforms. We're talking about real legends that you had to actually go outside and see. And it started in the PHL. So I want to make sure that I give the PHL their just due because, again, man, I hold the PHL near and dear to my heart. It was an eye-opening experience when I went to Coach Neal's, Coach Marvin Neal's of Sumner, Soldan, Cardinal Ritter, at his homegoing, running into all of the legends all over again. And to me, these guys are larger than life. Grew up, idolizing them, hearing their name, in whatever circle that I'm in, it always comes back to some certain guys that you always hear this name. You hear their name, you hear their as far as their career, their legacy, what they was able to accomplish. Then when you finally get a chance to meet them, conversate with them, some of these guys I've had on the show, had on the podcast, and that's really how I started to grow this brand of, I would say, my niche audience has always been city basketball folks who remember the PHL, who remember these legends. And so when I get these guys back on my platform, it's a whole nother group of young folks that get to know about their legacy. And that's really why I do it, because I'm just always trying to push things forward. And so one way to push things forward, you got to know where you came from. All right. So that's what I'm going to talk about today. So this topic is going to be about, we hear about all of the GOATs, but who really was the GOAT in the PHL? Okay. Before we get to that, and before you guys jumping all in the comment section and saying who was this and who was that, let's go back. So I think the year had to be probably like around 2007, 2006. Let me just make sure that I'm right. So 2009, all right, 2009, Mr. Earl Austin of the St. Louis American, um, good friend, good mentor, someone that I love going on the show, love talking to him because this man is just a wealth of knowledge of all of these different stars that came through the St. Louis area. And he's pretty much been the griot, the legend, keeping everything together. So for all of the things that Mr. Austin, Earl Austin Jr. has done for the media space, for the PHL, for high school sports in general, I'm trying to do the same thing when it comes to this platform, the podcasting space, keeping legends, memories alive, and letting the youth out just basically know that before it was a Jason Tatum or Brad Beal or whoever's coming up next, we've had legends. All right. So again, if you don't come from the PHL, all right, you probably would have missed this. All right. You probably wouldn't probably know of any of these guys that we're going to discuss, that we're going to talk about. But for the most part, like I said, some of these guys I was lucky enough to have on this platform to interview, to see, man, what were they going through during this time to become legends? Was it something that they wrote on their wall or said, hey, I'm going to be a legend and accomplish this, that, and the third? Or was it just, fate? All right, so let's jump into this. I have some things kind of queued up that I want to show you guys. So yeah, 2009, Mr. Earl Austin came out with the PHL and the STL. So he came out with a video. So I'm going to use this video as a means to teach. So it's going to be educational driven. So fair use for me using this, Mr. Austin. So let's check this out, see what we can come up with. And I want you guys to kind of go down memory lane with me, if you would. Let's see if I can get it. All right, yeah. Let's see if I can get it right here. Let's do this. Yes. Gateway represent. Okay. All right. We got that look like Vashon on that. That must be the checker dome. I don't want to play the music. Yeah, I don't want to get hit with any type of copyright information, but as you can see, this is how we got down back in the day, guys. Check us out. All right. So again, St. Louis legacy, and I want to kind of see if we can get to the good stuff, Mr. Austin.
Footage of the great PHL players of the past.
Fred Kovar was the driving force behind Beaumont High School's dynasty in the late 1940s, leading the Blue Jackets to state championships in 1947 and 48. Legendary Beaumont coach Tom Stanton called Kovar one of the most talented players he's ever coached. He was a 3-year starter and a 3-time All-PHL performer. He went on to St. Louis University, where he was a 3-year starter and an All-Missouri Valley Conference selection in 1952. Perhaps the first true dominant big man in PHL history, the 6'9" Ferry averaged 32 points a game as a senior in Cleveland in 1955. He went on to St. Louis University, where he became a collegiate All-American in 1959, averaging 21 points a game. Ferry enjoyed a 10-year career in the National Basketball Association with the Baltimore Bullets and Detroit Pistons. The 1956 Sumner Bulldogs made history by becoming the first all-black team to win the Public High League championship. Led by Jim Price, the Bulldogs also won the inaugural PHL Christmas tournament. Sumner was led by the dynamic duo of guard Tommy Bird Weathersby and powerful inside player Al Abram. Rounding out the starting five were James Clark, Claude Blackmore, and Joe Rycraw. The Bulldogs finished with a 20-3 record. Jimmy Bowhead Irving was one of the top guards in the PHL during the 1960s during his career at Beaumont High School. A lightning-quick 6'1" guard, Bowhead led Beaumont to the third-place finish in the Class L state tournament in 1967. He averaged 22 points a game and earned all PHL, all state, and all Metro honors. Bowhead went on to play at St. Louis University, where he was one of the top guards in the history of the Billikens program. He scored 1,269 points and in 1971 earned all Missouri Valley Conference honors. Many people consider the 1969 Sumner Bulldogs to be the best team ever assembled in the Public High League, and the state of Missouri for that matter. The Bulldogs had a rare combination of great size, talent, strength, and great coaching. The leader of this great collection of talent was 6'7" forward Harry Rogers, one of the smoothest and most fundamentally sound players ever to play in the Public High League. A three-time All-Public High League performer, Rogers averaged 22 points a game during that championship season. He went on to have a great career at St. Louis University, where he's still among the school's all-time leading scorers. 7-foot center David Brent was one of the most talented and graceful big men ever to step on the court in the Public High League. In the 1969 state tournament, Brent was the dominant force in Sumner's championship run. He had 35 points, 13 rebounds, and 9 block shots in the semifinals against Columbia Hickman, and 33 points in the state championship victory over Webster Groves. Brent went on to become a great player at Jacksonville University. Marshall Rogers, a powerfully built 6-foot shooting guard, brought instant offense off the bench for the 69 Bulldogs. In 1970 and 71, he emerged as a star in his own right, leading the Public High League in scoring. In 1975, Rogers led the NCAA colleges in scoring at 36 points a game for Pan American University.
So let me just stop right there because I had a pleasure of meeting some of these guys, and some of these guys were my mentors, my teachers. You just saw these greats all throughout the school district growing up. And just to know that Sumner had a guy, Harry Rogers, legendary, that led the nation in scoring at almost 30, he said almost 30 plus a game. And just looking at some of these clips that Mr. Austin has, for folks to say nowadays, like, these guys look like grown men with jerseys and uniforms on. But when I see these guys today, they pretty much resemble maturity even back then. And so when I see kids today versus men or kids back then, it's like, man, it's like night and day. These guys look like grown men ready to come in and handle business. And where we get, our kids nowadays, they look like kids. They really, really look like kids. But just wanted to kind of point that out.
Becoming a first-round NBA draft choice. William Westfall, a 6'8" forward, brought strength and rebounding to the Sumner Bulldogs championship team. He went on to become a junior college All-American at Trinidad Junior College in Colorado, and he went on to Memphis State University, where he was a starting forward on the Tigers' 1973 national runner-up team, which played the Bill Walton-led UCLA team right here in St. Louis. Rounding out this great collection of talent was Travis Brown, a 6-foot guard who went on to become one of the great players in Missouri Baptist College history. Lawrence Lil Bit Weathers was a 5'7" point guard who ran the show. Clarence Bullwinkle Weaver was a 6'8" forward who went on to play at Illinois State University, while James Brown, a hardworking 6'4" forward, went on to play at St. Louis University. Bringing it all together was head coach John Elgey, who took a supremely talented group of individuals and molded them into a championship unit with his combination of fundamentals, discipline, and team play. It all came together for the Bulldogs when they defeated Webster Groves 71-57 in St. Louis to win the state championship, culminating a 30-2 season.
Man. So much good stuff when it comes to just hearing about those things. And so, like I said, that Sumner team is considered legendary. We pointed out a couple guys that were on here from just back in the day that I had I kind of knew of, but not really. And then the whole notion that St. Louis University used to get a lot of these guys. They used to come from the PHL, studs coming from the PHL, going straight to St. Louis U. Was just, it was mind blowing that all of these guys were coming straight out of the PHL, going straight to St. Louis U. That's some good stuff. So let me see if I got another
scorer, rebounder, and shot blocker as he led the Red Wings to a 75-6 record during his 3-year varsity career, in which he was a 2-time All-Metro performer. Soldan High's David Thirdkill was one of the most dynamic and athletic players ever to play in the Public High League. In 1978, Thirdkill put together a magical season in leading Soldan.
Shout out to the sheriff,
averaging 22 points and 8 rebounds a game, and supplying PHL fans with one electrifying play after another, including a play in the Normandy High tournament where he jammed in a missed free throw, a play which is talked about 30 years after he did it. And he went on to play at Southern Idaho Junior College, where he was a JUCO All-American, and then had a spectacular 3-year college career at Bradley University, where he was a 3-year starter and an all-Missouri Valley Conference performer for the Braves. He led the Braves to a berth in the NCAA tournament in 1980 and the National Invitational Tournament Championship in 1982, where his defensive prowess earned him the nickname the Sheriff. Thirdkill was a first-round draft choice of the Phoenix Suns after the 1982 season, where he spent several seasons. He was also a member of the great Boston Celtics NBA championship team of 1986, earning a championship ring. David Thirdkill, one of the all-time greats of the Public High League.
So did you guys catch that? Did you guys catch that David Thirdkill has an NBA championship ring from the Boston Celtics? So again, that Celtics St. Louis connection has always been there. Just wanted to point that out. Okay.
One of the most electrifying personalities and players in the history of the Public High League, Peewee Leonard was the big man on campus at Central High School. Despite standing only 5 feet 7 inches tall, Leonard was the point guard, the floor leader, and the maestro to the most prolific scoring teams in Public High League history. The Central Red Wings of 1980 and 81 averaged more than 100 points a game with Peewee at the controls. The two-time All-State and All-St. Louis Post-Dispatch All-Metro performer, he went on to play at the University of Georgia before coming back to St. Louis University, where he got the program going in the right direction. Peewee Leonard, one of the great little men in history of Public High League basketball. The 1988 Vashon Wolverines were one of the best teams in the history of the state of Missouri. The Class 4A state champions were led by outstanding senior guard Sean Tunstall. The 6'4" Tunstall was one of the smoothest and most talented guards in the history of the Public High League. Tunstall was a 3-year starter and the leading scorer for Vashon in 1987 and 88, averaging 15 points a game and leading the Wolverines to the state title with an outstanding jump shot and a smooth mid-range game. The floor general of the Wolverines was 5'10" senior Glover Cody, who had outstanding quickness and great floor leadership ability. He was also a Division I standout at Texas Arlington. In the front court, Vashon featured an excellent pair of 6'7" senior forwards, led by the versatile Malcolm Nash, who brought leadership and experience to the power forward position. Nash was equally capable of hitting the three-point shot or powering inside for slam dunks and offensive rebounds. Nash went on to join his teammate Tunstall at the University of Kansas on a Final Four team in 1991. His partner up front was 6'7" senior Corey Warner, who was one of the most outstanding jump shooters in the Public High League during his career. The man in the middle for Vashon was Kenneth Simpson, a 6'5", 230-pound slab of muscle, who was a force in the middle for Vashon with his jump hooks and power play in the low post. Simpson could rebound with the best of them inside. Coming off the bench for Vashon was senior Anthony Jones, one of the great floor leaders in the history of the program. Bringing more size off the bench was 6'10" junior Montrell Nash, the brother of
man,
senior
stop
Malcolm Nash.
playing.
Montreal
Look
was
how
an
big this
outstanding
team
rebounder.
is, man. Look at
The
all
biggest
these
player
guys
ever to wear a Vashon
on
uniform, a
this
7-foot
team.
junior center Melvin Robinson, known as Big Chill.
Man,
for his
this is
calm demeanor.
ridiculous,
Robinson
man.
was a force in the middle with an outstanding shooting touch for a big
Shout
man
out to
of
these
7
guys,
feet,
man.
250 pounds. Robinson went on to play at St. Louis University. The mastermind of this great collection of talent was Floyd Irons, who guided the Wolverines to a 30-1 record in the Missouri Class 4A state championship and a national top 5 ranking in the final USA Today national rankings. It was definitely one of the best teams in the history of the state of Missouri. If you were a fan of the 1988 Vashon Wolverines, you certainly had plenty to cheer about. The little big man of Vashon basketball, the 5'7" Shelton, was a scoring phenom who put on a clinic on how to play offensive basketball every time he stepped on the floor. As a junior, he averaged 22 points a game. He topped that by averaging 23 points a game as a senior and leading the Wolverines to the Class 4A state championship. Joel Shelton also has the honor of being the first Vashon Wolverine to have his number retired.
Wow. Shout out to them guys.
The 6'3" McKinney enjoyed one of the most celebrated careers in the history of high school basketball in St. Louis. McKinney led the Wolverines to a three-peat state championship between 2000 and 2002. McKinney was the St. Louis Metro Player of the Year in 2001, 2002, and Mr. Show Me Basketball as a senior in 2002. He was also a parade All-American. McKinney went on to the University of Missouri, where he enjoyed a standout career, where he was one of only 5 target players to have over 1,000 points, 600 rebounds, and 400 assists in his career. A true coaching icon in the state of Missouri, Jody Bailey's historic Hall of Fame career spanned 5 different decades and 42 seasons, where he won a whopping 824 games. Before integration, he was a success at Vashon High School in the old
shout out to Coach Bailey. I actually got a chance to meet him, man, and played for his played with his grandson, man. Shout out to Grice.
Becoming the first all
shout out to him, man, Mr. Bailey.
All of Bailey's teams were fundamentally sound and played with great team chemistry, which was a testament to Bailey's teaching of the game of basketball. He developed such great talent as Elston Howard, JoJo White, Stanley Wood, and Earl throughout his historic basketball coaching career.
Now on to the girls' side. Now this is my era right here, you know, and
The Gateway Tech girls
they just were so dominant, man. They were before their time. Shout out to Gateway and the Gateway Jaguar women's program.
28-0. One of the leaders of the Gateway Tech dynasty was 5-foot guard Latasha Thompson, a speedy guard blessed with tremendous outside shooting ability. While Latasha Thompson provided the outside play, providing the inside leadership was 6-foot senior forward Brandy Archibald. A 4-year starter, Archibald was a true power player who scored and rebounded at will for the Jaguars. Brandy Archibald really came into her own during the state tournament as Gateway Tech made their first championship run.
Wow.
At 5'10", Kristen Shelton was one of the most versatile athletes in the city. She was a 2-time All-State performer for the Jaguars. The starting center for the Jaguars was 6'2" Tiana Ford, a 4-year starter for Gateway Tech. Ford was an intimidating force in the middle as a rebounder, shot blocker. Her size and long arms made her very tough to handle in the low post. Ford went on to play at the University of Louisville. 5'10" forward Diana Hill was another one of those talented athletes in the Gateway Tech stable. With her size and versatility, Hill used her great
man. They had a
game
squad.
and
Man, they
to
had a
become an
squad.
excellent
They had a
open court performer
squad.
for Gateway Tech. When the Jaguars were in need of a point guard, they turned to a precocious freshman named Tara Peaches Harris, who went on to enjoy a fabulous 4-year varsity career at Gateway Tech. She graduated as the school's all-time leading scorer and assist and steals leader before going on to the University of North Carolina, Charlotte as the school's career three-point shooting leader. The mastermind of the Jaguar dynasty is future Hall of Fame coach Sherman Curtis, who led the Jaguars to 2 state championships, 4 Final Four appearances, and numerous public high league championships during a stellar coaching career.
Wow. Shout out to that team right there, man. That was so again, I think we are also we get caught up in being creatures of the moment that, you know, soon as something happens, let's just say if a game happened last night, or even we saw it happen this year with Bam scoring 83 and being such creatures of the moment, everybody was already just said, oh man, Bam is one of the greatest players of all time. He scored 83 points in the game. And this is this generation's Kobe 81. So if Bam was able to do it, how come, you know, and we consider Kobe one of the greatest, Bam should be in that conversation. And it's like, no, it doesn't work like that. And so now when we see teams that say they go undefeated, you know, lose only one game, have a couple of Division I players on the team, now all of a sudden we're crowning them the greatest team of all time. We've never seen anything like this. But for the guys who've actually seen things like this, you know, we're not coming off as being haters. It's just that, you know, we've been in this for a long time to see the greats come and go. And so that's why I wanted to kind of do this video, because a lot of my kids, they see, oh man, coach, man, can you dunk? Can you still play? Can you do this? And I'm like, hey guys, you know, it was before it was these guys in the NBA right now, you know, they had to learn it from somebody, you know. So I feel like I was part of that thread that kind of kept the game alive in St. Louis, to get these guys to, you know, to be able to be motivated to play at the next level, because I feel like St. Louis is just as talented as far as grabbing talent, just as the Chicagos, the Detroits, you know, the DMV areas, all of those areas like that. You know, St. Louis has pros too. You know, it's something in our water. So, but what I want to ask you guys, man, who is the greatest? Who's the greatest of all time in the PHL? Is it JoJo White? You know, is it Jimmy McKinney? Is it Peewee Leonard? Is it David Thirdkill? You know, who are some of the greatest teams of all time? Is it Vashon? Is it Sumner? Is it Central? You know, is it the teams that we seen in the 2000s, in the 90s? You know, just looking back at the highlights of the 1988 Vashon team, I'm just like, man, these guys had 6'10", 6'11" guys coming off the bench. They ended up going Division I. How come these guys are not considered being one of the greatest teams of all times? Then we also talk about the Gateway Tech girls team. You know, shout out to all of my friends and people that I knew from that team, because I followed that team everywhere they went. And it was just like, man, they actually had a dynasty. Who's some of the greats that came off that team? You know, can we say Tara Peaches Harris is one of the greatest players of all time in the PHL? I can say that because I actually seen her perform and seen her play during a time where they were winning championship after championship after championship as a dynasty team. Again, who is considered one of the greatest on the men's side. So I want to know from you guys, because I want to end up having maybe a top 10 list that can kind of, you know, bring folks up to speed on what are some of the things that they was able to do, and then basically trying to see, can we mimic that? Is there something that we could do that they did back in the day to make the PHL more of a traditional type of conference all over again? So yeah, I want to know. I want to get the conversation going. So again, this might be a little foreign to folks if you didn't go through the PHL. So again, if you didn't come from the PHL, you might have missed a lot of these names, of a lot of these games, and a lot of these basketball player moments, because you just wasn't caught up to speed. And that's where I come in at. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Thank you guys for chiming in, you know, giving me some little time to kind of break down the PHL, because I hold it near and dear to my heart. And yeah, let me know what you think about this video, and I will catch you guys on the next one.